and Frederick Wortham, who was a kind of progressive Jewish immigrant psychiatrist. And for the years that they were able to operate, they did so outside of a church in Harlem, and it was all pay what you can mental health care. And they were considered one of the first mental health care clinics that sort of linked the material struggles of Harlem residents with their psychological and healthcare needs. So the series is kind of based on that history and is going to more largely explore the history and future of radical healthcare in Harlem. So the opening night of the series is on Thursday, and it's with the original Native Son adaptation from 1951, starring Richard Wright. And the curator of the series, Kazembe Balogun, who many of you probably know as a brilliant activist and scholar and curator, he'll be here introducing it and kind of putting the history of the Lafarge Clinic into context. So that is going to be taking place across the whole spring, and you'll be able to see all the things that are part of that on our website. Like there's a Phenom program after that. We're playing Dope is Death, which the Panthers played here a few years ago, and lots of other great stuff. And then the next night on Friday, a week from today, is a French documentary about transformative justice in the French legal system. They've implemented a more robust transformative justice program there for survivors and perpetrators of different forms of violence, and there's a documentary about that. And so there's lots more on our website, but those are the next two things that are coming up. And before I hand it to Claudia, I just want to say that I'm especially excited about tonight's program. It's been a really long time in the making with Carlito and King, and our relationship with the commemoration committee is just one of the most rich and generative, and it means a lot to be doing something with you guys in addition to the annual festival. So I couldn't be more excited to, for us to experience what lies ahead.
First and foremost, I'd like to say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
Would you say it just a little bit louder?
All power to the people.
Thank you. This is not the usual Black Panther Film Festival. This is something new. This is something special. We're going to be honoring Albert Maysles, who this joint here is named after, who has allowed us to be here to show our film festival for 15 years now. I want to maybe have just a moment of silence for Mrs. Maysles, who passed away 3 days ago. We know that she would have been here, sitting right there, with a little glass of wine. She always came out when she could, and we cherish that. We're grateful.
Present that.
So, without further ado, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Carlito. Carlito was a little boy when he joined the Young Lords. He's now a full-grown man artist. He will tell you more about what he's doing, but tonight's film, the first one, is a documentary that Albert made in 1959, and then the second one will be, what's the title? TAKEOVER, which talks about the takeover of Lincoln Hospital by the Young Lords and Cleo. Cleo, my sister here, was a part of that, was there in that struggle, and I'm sure she likes to talk about things. She's long-winded, but without further ado, we're gonna bring up Carlito.
How's everybody doing?
You.
How's everybody doing?
All right.
All right, let's say with enthusiasm because we're on the winning side in history. Remember that.
Yes.
I'm not an ex-young lord. Let's establish that. I'm a young lord to the day I die.
Yes.
The organization may have been destroyed by the FBI, but I'm still a young lord. And Sister Cleo, you're still a young lord.
Yes.
I developed an affinity for art when I was in prison. That's right, I was in prison. Okay? It doesn't make me a bad person. Okay? When I went in there, I learned to do artwork. I learned to do portraitures. And I vowed on the day of my release, after spending 6 years in prison, I vowed to use what I learned in prison against the motherfuckers that put me in there. Okay? And so I paint revolutionaries. I paint those that work to weaken the system. Okay? Because if you do not work to weaken capitalism, if you do not work to free Puerto Rico, if you do not work to emancipate African Americans, if you do not work to overthrow the racist Israeli state and free Palestine, then I'm not paying you. Albert Maysles. Albert Maysles. Yeah, he was a white boy that came to Harlem, and you would say, no, what the fuck you doing here? Okay? But what did he create? He created a center where we can preserve the legacy of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party were the one entity that struck fear in the minds of the ruling class when it rose up. And that was not seen since the mighty movement of Marcus Garvey. The Black Panther Party supported the struggles of the Puerto Rican people, of Chicano people, of Native American people, of the Palestinian people. And when they worked towards uniting all oppressed people, including poor whites, the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover said, no, we have to destroy them. And it's because of that that I have the utmost respect for Albert Maysles, because he created this center to document the struggles of the left in this country, to document the work that the Black Panther Party was doing. Because right now, brothers and sisters, you know that we have a fascist movement in this country that's out to destroy any remnants of Black history studies in the universities, in public schools. Yes. They have taken critical race theory and turned it into their religion to destroy it. Yes. Okay? And without further ado, because of that respect that I have for Albert Maysles, I did his portrait. Okay? I paint because I can't afford a psychiatrist. But the anger that was instilled in me by oppression. So, this is the way I let it out. This is the way I fight. The brush, for me, is the equivalent to an AK-47. Okay? Because the greatest weapon that they have against us is not these hollow point bullets that the NYPD carries. It's not these aircraft carriers. It's not these jet fighters that they use to bomb communities. Their greatest weapon is how they control our minds. And we have to always talk about our heroes, whether they're Palestinian, whether they are African Americans, whether they are Puerto Ricans. They are ours, because what makes them all ours is that we have one enemy. And on that note, I present to you Albert Maysles.
Hey,
Magnifico.
Gracias. Art is a weapon. Keep that in mind. Art is a weapon. That's why they try to screw the minds of our youth by corrupting our culture, our arts. And we have to take the arts like taking a bull by the horns and twisting the neck so that we can have the bull charging our oppressors.
One of you guys should come too.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit and just, no, for you.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit and just give us your reaction on behalf of the documentary center.
Oh my god. Well, this is the second.
It's a gift for you.
No, I know. No, I think it's, I think I can speak for, I'm not the only Maysles Documentary Center person in the room, but I think, I think being recognized for the way that the space and how we've operated in Albert's legacy and the kind of contribution that can have for the left and, creating spaces for movements. It really means a lot to kind of be recognized in that way. We've talked about it a lot over the last 6 months, and it's hard to put into words. It's kind of, it's what you want your work, how you want your work to be seen and appreciated.
This is Feliz Navidad, this is Happy Kwanzaa, this is everything. It's a gift from the heart to the Maysles Center. It's an original.
Regional Carlito.
Wow.
So everyone stick around for the discussion after. Emory Douglas will be joining over Zoom. And then,
Sister, if you like this, you'll like my artwork, right? You like my artwork, right?
Yep.
Well, just so you know, for those that don't know, there's an exhibit downstairs in the lounge of my artwork. And it's for sale. Where's the money going? I'll tell you where the money's going. The money is going to the political prisoners that's still in the dungeons. In the dungeons of U.S. imperialism. Okay?
All right.
The money is also going to preserve this institution, the Maysles Center. Okay? So if you like my art, if you got Zelle, okay, however it is, I'll take food stamps too. Let me know. Let me know, or let someone from the Black Panther Party Film Festival or Maysles Art Center. And this other, like I said, I only paint revolutionaries, and they're downstairs. So afterwards, go downstairs and check it out.
The rest of Carlito's art, and we'll have like a few bites and some wine for people to enjoy. And then one thing I just neglected to say about the first film is that so it was a co-production between Albert and two collaborators, D.A. Pennebaker and Robert Leacock in 1960. And just I think an interesting fact about it is that it was originally commissioned by ABC for them to document post-revolutionary Cuba and growing anti-U.S. sentiment across Latin America. And they came back in a film that they brought to ABC. ABC did not show. So I think you can interpret what that means about the film.
Fidel Castro congratulates the teachers, then launches an attack on the United States, the OAS, and the Declaration of San Jose. He exhorts the audience to attend a gigantic rally to be held in Havana's Plaza Civica.
All power to the people. So welcome to this extended edition of the Black Panther Party Film Festival, brought to you by the Black Panther Commemoration Committee, and this time co-sponsored by Maysles Cinema, because of the speciality of the occasion. And we want to just take a moment of silence for Jillian Walker, Albert's wife, who joined the ancestors a few days ago. So just a moment of silence. I'm sorry, we didn't get to tell everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, moment of silence.
Oh, wow.
And there's some others we've
Can I do
lost.
something?
What's that?
Can I do something?
What are you gonna do?
Can we just applaud the Maysles? Thank you to the Maysles.
We would have had you do that on our camera, but that's all right, bro. We heard you. We heard you. So I want to. All right, so we'll do the introduction in a second. And so I would like to ask any members of the Black Panther Party, any members of the Young Lords, to please stand up. Any Cubs and what do you call y'all's princes and princesses?
We were so young, we didn't need to have cubs.
What you do now? There's a bunch of them now. Come on, stand up. All the original members. Behind you, Emory Douglas. So we're virtually standing, and Cleo is virtually standing as well, who has dual membership. So my name is King Downing, community worker for the Black Panther Party and a member of the Black Panther Party Commemoration Committee. So we want to thank you all for being here, and we are celebrating 15 years, as was just said. But we're also trying to move forward the work around the political prisoners and the work around Maysles Cinema. So we'll get to more about that later. But I always try to put the people first. I would like to get short reactions from people to the films you saw. And if you want to say which one or the other moved you, raise your hand and let's hear what you have to say. Anybody, what's your reaction to what you saw? Like it always gets quiet here, you know. And if we're in a meeting, we can't shut people up. Come on, what's your reaction? Somebody. All right, good. Thank you for breaking the ice.
Yeah, my name is Ralph Feek. I'm a member of the Uhuru Movement. One of the things I had was looking for actually, and I definitely appreciated the cinema. I remember when I had gone on a little tour that they had a couple of summers ago, and they had shown how they did the thing where the garbage, the sanitation department wasn't picking up the garbage. And they had basically took all the garbage cans and dumped stuff in the streets and whatnot. Y'all really had Spanish Harlem sewed up in a serious kind of way. That particular action was interesting as well. It didn't really show in the documentary, but that's another thing that y'all had done that was profound.
Yeah, right on.
All power to the people. Anybody else?
That's right.
Okay, all right. And you can say your name if you want to.
Yeah, my name is Valerie Jackson, and I'm a lover of both parties, Young Lords and the Black Panther Party. That's why I always have this.
And the name of it is?
We took the streets. By Miguel Mickey Melendez.
Mickey, yeah.
Okay,
All right?
all right, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Pastor Michael Vincent Crea, One World Life Systems, and Carlito's work and commemoration is respected. I have to acknowledge, I'm here, Michael was my Irish grandfather who made his transition this day 42 years ago.
Was here at the festivals year after year after year, and I've been going through the footage. I have so much of him here and at other panels. Yes?
Joseph Jazz Hayden.
Jazz Hayden, okay, another politicized prisoner. Ralph Pointer, okay? Yeah, anybody else? Viola Plummer. Okay, all of this in the last couple of weeks or something like that, okay? So we want to remember those folks, some of the services, the information is coming up, all right? So now we're going to have a conversation, and then there'll be plenty of time for dialogue, because I usually ask one question of each person, maybe a follow-up question, because most of you are the ones that we really want to hear from. So I want to start with our surprise today, Cleo. Now we had talked before about your recollections of the film, but seeing it now, is there anything this time that came to mind?
Thank you, that's an excellent question. Because each time I see it, I see some different things that are important to see. In particular, the leaders of the Lincoln Hospital mental health workers struggle, Richard Weeks and Aubrey Dawkins. Those are such important people, because those were the ones that initiated the whole concept of bringing in a drug rehabilitation program that did not use chemicals. And they really fought for basic salaries, that living wages for the workers at Lincoln Hospital. So that's where all that struggle began, and that's how it moved over to the Young Lords and the Black Panther Party. The other piece that I want to say that is so important is that the Black Panther Party and the role that the Black Panther Party played in the development and the struggle at Lincoln Hospital. Were it not for the Black Panther Party, the first, second, or third takeover of Lincoln Hospital would not have occurred. And not to speak of the role that they played with sickle cell anemia. It was the Black Panther Party that demanded that the government treat and do research on sickle cell in this country, because sickle cell was not even a diagnosis in this country. So I just want to give recognition to the Black Panther.
Cherishing the Black Panther Party, the experiences of the Young Lords, all of that contributed to my life, my development as an artist. And Brother Emory back there, where are you?
It's almost your time, Emory, come on up.
Brother Emory, I didn't know me. Oh, there you go. I want you to know that I used to read the Black Panther Party newspaper when I was a kid. And I used to love the artwork inside of it. Especially the part where it was the pigs getting their ass kicked. Okay. I love when the tables turn, you know. And so I have to say that the Black Panther Party artists also contributed to my development as an artist.
Beautiful, beautiful. Everything from the West Coast. Make some noise, y'all. Are you hearing us? You pointed. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great, great. So, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing fine. So far, so good.
So we just heard how a person who was clearly a creative person all along became an artist later on after his work in the party had diminished. And that was you from the get-go. So how did you get to your artistic craft, and how did you transition into making it the thing that drew everybody to the communications of the Black Panther Party?
Well, I think life's journey was a part of, or actually a combination of things in life's journey, like most of us, or many of us, have experienced, and particularly during the 60s, and when you have the many rebellions as a young man, and you always seem to be justified and what have you, and becoming a part of going to City College at a time when they began the Black conscious movement was coming into being in 1964, 65, around that era, and began contributing to the changing of the names from the Negro Students Association to the Black Students Association and being demonized and all those things. Connecting with Hank Jones, who was one of the SF8 who mentored me, him, other older brothers.
San Francisco 8, yeah.
Yeah, and so they mentored me during that time, and while I was at City College, and I recall that they said that they were planning a meeting to bring Malcolm X's widow to the Bears, Sister Betty Shabazz, and they wanted me to do the artwork for that because they were familiar with the work that I was doing just in the Black arts movement in the Bay Area. And so I went to the meeting, and that was the then called the Black Panther Party of Northern California. And they were planning to working to bring her to the Bay Area. And I also had been working with Emory doing props for his plays, backdrops, simple black backdrops for the different plays he was doing when he was out here at that time. And they said that no one really knew about them then. The Black Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. It was maybe over in Oakland, and those brothers who they debated, sisters who they debated and discussed with back and forth, but on a broad scale, no, they were not known in the San Francisco overall Bay Area. And so what they said that some brothers would be coming over to the next meeting, they would decide if they wanted to, if they would do the security for that event. They came over, that was Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. At that time, I knew that's what I wanted to be a part of. So it was after that meeting, I asked Huey and Bobby how I could join. They had business cards, and they gave me business cards, and I used to call Huey and go over to his house. Didn't have a car, I used to catch the bus over to Oakland, and he would show me around the neighborhood and go by Bobby Seale's house. That was my initial transition into the Black Panther Party. That was around late January 1967. About 2.5 months after the organization started. But going fast forward, they knew of my skills as an artist because I had been doing artwork in the Black Arts and was selling posters and prints and things of that nature during that time. So going fast forward to April, when they did the first legal size sheet of paper, which was the first newspaper, on a young brother named Denzel Downs, who was from California. I came into a place, what we call the Black House then. A lot of cultural events would go on downstairs, and there were Panthers who lived upstairs. And so they were always coming over at that time to go upstairs to talk with, I think it was Eldridge Cleaver, to recruit him because they knew him as a writer. And they wanted to get him to work on the newspaper. But downstairs you had Emory Baraka, Sonia Sanchez, Ed Bullen. She had all kind of playwrights and writers coming in at culture event, Marvin X and what have you. And so one Saturday I went over there and they were at the table. And they were working on that first 8.5 by 7 paper, which was a legal size sheet of paper, typed on a typewriter, did it with markers. Bobby Seale did it heavily with markers. And I told him I could help him improve that from the, because when I went to City College, I took up commercial law. And so they said, okay, and I stayed about 45 minutes away, so it took me about 45 minutes to go and come back with the material. They said, well, we're finished now, but you seem to be committed, and we're gonna start the paper, and you will be the revolutionary artist for the paper. And it would be to tell our story from our perspective. It would be like a double-edged sword, and praise you on one hand, and it can criticize you on the other. They say we want to have artwork in the paper, so those who weren't going to read the long drawn-out stories could get the gist of what was going on by just seeing the artwork, or seeing the photographs or what have you, and the captions. So therefore, that became, but I also had the production skills that I had learned at City College and working on out in the community printing operations. And so initially I started off doing the production aspect of the paper. And then it was about the third or fourth paper during that time that we used to work out of Eldridge Cleaver studio apartment because it didn't have no headquarters, none of that at that time. And they were trying to recruit him, and he agreed to work on the newspaper at that time. But he was working at Ramparts, and he was on parole. but Ramparts being a somewhat progressive publication, they allowed him to cover the Panthers as a reporter for Ramparts. Therefore, he was not in violation of his parole. They could have sent him back to prison at that time. So that's how he was able to get involved initially with the Black Panther newspaper itself and begin to do the writing and what happened. And so it was about that third paper, Huey and Bobby would always come over while we were working on the paper. We didn't have any, we just had minimum materials. It was a blessing that I took up commercial art, because that led to me having these pre-production skills, as opposed to if I would have been a fine artist. So therefore, I was able to do the cutting and pasting and layout as best I could in the beginning. And a lot of it we did with the typewriter initially. You'll see articles that were done on the typewriter, and we maybe rub off type, those kinds of things. But going to that third paper, they came over to check out Huey, Bobby, and little Bobby, and then some of the first cadre came over, and Bobby and Huey brought over this image of this pig on 4 books. And they said, we want to put this in the paper suite. And we want to put the badge number on it regarding the pigs who've been harassed and intimidated people in the community. Let you know. And so I took that art and kind of cleaned it up and what have you. And that became the first image. But thereafter, I was just thinking about it one evening. I was at home in bed. I said, when I standing up on the 2 hoofs, keep the snort, keep the tail, and the whole bit, and the flies running, that took on a life of its own. So that's how the pig joint became the first symbol of psychological warfare in the context of visuals and a language that spoke to what was going on in a way that was humorous but serious in many ways as well, and informed and enlightened. And I think that a lot of community people, young people and stuff, may have liked it and appreciated it because of the context of what it said. It was based on the 10-point platform program, quality of life issues. And particularly when you first started out with the big joints, it was about point number 7. We want to immediately end the police brutality, murder of black people. That was the initial images. Then it took on about drawings that dealt with in relationship to decent housing, fit for the shelter of human beings, quality of life issues throughout the artwork itself, what the Black Panther Party was about. And it spoke in that language. It was a language, the way to communicate. But it was a visual language. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Give it up, please. I thought I knew. How many of you there, raise your hand, you just learned something that you didn't know about that early time? Yeah, that's why we do what we do here. And I'm not trying to be nosy. I don't want to know what's in your refrigerator, but I want people to look behind you and look at all the artwork that's on the outside of your refrigerator. Most of which is original, and I see a couple that we've used for our own festival up there as well. So thank you for all of that as well. So now I'm going to shut up because most of this time should be directed by your questions or comments. And so I would like somebody to ask a question or make a comment about one person or the other, and I want to make sure I rotate so that everybody gets a question or a comment. And if they don't, then I'll just have to ask one. All right, so where are we going to start? Who's got a question or comment from one of our 4 guests here? Anybody?
That's really sweet.
Okay. But I will say, wow. I'm honored at everything that happened here. You're special, and we will win.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. I know that we will win. I know that we will win. Okay, who's first?
I got a question.
I bet you do.
Brother Emory.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to know, this is BJ.
Yeah, Brother BJ.
I just wanted to know, how did Spike Lee find you, and how was it working with him on that poster for that film Bloods?
All right.
Okay. Well, what happened is I got an email, and it was an email, and it says from Spike Lee. And, you know, I just thought it was a fake email. And so he emailed me back and said, this is the real Spike Lee. And that is, he was working on the film, and that he wanted to, he'd seen a poster of mine that he felt that he wanted to use in the film. And it got me directly in contact with the brother who was the one who you see in the film. I can't think of his name right now, but he was the designer, and me and him collaborated together on the film. So they came here to the house, and it, you know, it was good, it was nice conversation. People in the neighborhood came out. People didn't know Black Panther was living here. But come to find out that for many years, when my mom and Barker's house, when I was in the Panthers in 1972, I always thought it was one of them, you know, because it was in a predominantly white neighborhood, middle class, upper class, in a way. But then you got a lot of Asian and people of color who live here now, more so. And so, you know, the school had grown, but the guy who was the head of the school at that time, he came over after that and said that a friend of his had given him some artwork, posters of mine. He had them hanging in the school down there, in the middle. And so I went down there, and I seen the posters dealing with health, wealth, and a few other issues during that time. And so thereafter, I went down there and did 2 talks with the young people. It goes from preschool up to the 9th grade, and it's more towards the arts in that context, in that sense. But you know, me and Spike, we came here and we talked and cut it up for a minute, and it was a wonderful experience to connect with him and communicate with him and about the art stuff, and find out he's a collector. He collects a lot of the artwork itself as well. Some of he said he bought online for a lot of money. I told him I wouldn't bought it. I wouldn't spend kind of money for it.
Of course, you can get it free. Okay, anybody have a question for one of our other panelists? We're going to rotate and make sure we get to everybody.
But mind you, that's nothing to get raising money for the artwork, you know. I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
Thank you. I guess this question is for Sister Cleo, because you were there.
Yeah.
About the takeover, which is what brought me from Brooklyn here. Thanks to King Down. How many young lords took over the hospital, if that's not confidential? And also, how many, for Carlito as well, how many young lords? And I just looked up on Wikipedia that it was like an 8-year long run before the FBI did what they do. But I'm just wondering, because I listen to WBAI and I've been hearing about the young lords, so to me they're mythological. But yes, I'd love to hear some more about that.
It was very real.
Before you start, I'll just say, listen, the statute of limitations is long past now, so.
The only thing there's no statute of limitations for is murder.
That's right. Mike.
Yeah. Talking to Mike.
Speaking to Mike, okay. So Carlito just told young lords that took over the hospital at that night, and I can pretty much remember I was in the bed of the truck with everybody else, and there was about 150 of us. And then with the atop people, the Health Revolutionary Unity movement people, it came out to about 200 people that did the actual takeover of Lincoln Hospital.
You were inside doing it as well.
We were inside.
I mean,
yeah.
The atop people were part of the.
Oh, absolutely. Atop was actually, the idea of atop came from Juan Gonzalez, and it was myself and some other hospital workers from Beth Israel and Gouverneur, and I was from up at Lincoln Hospital, and so they pulled us together, and we decided that our name was going to be like DRUM, the Dodge Revolutionary Union Movement. So we became the Healthcare Revolutionary Unity Movement, ATRUM. So that's who we were. And And I mean, I'm very proud of our working class, the core of the working class activities and ideas that came from Atrum, but also came from the Young Lords and came from the Black Panther Party, who were the first people to come up when the workers took over, the first takeover at Lincoln Hospital, the mental health workers, of which I was one. When that takeover took place, it was the Black Panther Party that came up with food and with water and with support and with little red books for us to read.
Red book.
That's right, and who really helped us develop that struggle, which took place. It was more than 12 hours. It was a few weeks that took place. So that was the first takeover. This takeover here, the film, was the second takeover.
Oh.
And of course, you know, the third takeover was the dopest death takeover. So you're going to be seeing that pretty soon, where the workers took over the community people, and the drug addicts in the community took over the 6th floor of the nurses' residence and established our non-chemical detox program. And that is still in existence, by the way. Lincoln Detox still exists. And
we're planning it on February 23rd.
On February 23rd, that's what's gonna happen.
Oh, you right here?
Emory, yeah.
I'll be here.
Okay, cool.
Hi, Emory.
I just want to add to what Cleo just laid out, because it's important not just to understand history, but also to understand how to use history for building a new movement. Because I don't like to talk about our personal experiences in the past more than half a century ago without any kind of vision of a new movement emerging, using and emulating the lessons drawn from that experience. The takeover of Lincoln Hospital was fundamentally a military operation, okay? We did intelligence, reconnaissance, we studied the police, their shift changes, and all of that. We studied the units that were in the precincts, okay? For example, SWAT, if there was a TPF in that precinct. We did.
Explain TPF.
TPF is Tactical Police Force. They were the riot unit of the police. They were the ones that were sent to riots, okay? And they were brutal. We did intelligence on the hospital security. We did intelligence on snitches, workers who were the snitches inside. We did a whole process of having demonstrations in the surrounding community, because part of a military operation, just like you know that the USA does, is to also incorporate a political offensive. Okay, so we were preparing the community for this onslaught. When we went in there and we saw that we were about to get massacred, we made some serious tactical decisions to snatch the uniforms of the doctors and nurses. And that's how we were not able to get killed, because the police was planning on going in there. They had snipers in the surrounding buildings, and the cops that they sent in there were white and very racist.
I'm thinking now, when I saw the scene with them taking the uniforms, there must have been a lot of medical professionals going out of there with blankets and sheets wrapped around them if you had to find 150 uniforms. But anyway, so I want to see if somebody has a question for Nelson, since if you have a question for Nelson, because I want to make sure every person gets an opportunity on the panel. You got a question for Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Five Mualamak, Black Panther Party Cub. My question to you is more so how important, because artwork is extremely important for freedom of expression, but also as a documentation of history. So how important is film? Because sometimes often in those mediums it's separate, right? You see film and you see artwork, but people don't put it together. But how important is that as a system of expression, but also as a system of documentation of history, like the film you watched today. Yes, it was artistic, and I've seen a lot of shots and insert shots that I didn't know he was actually doing at that time, but how important is that as documentation as well? So.
Yeah, I think, and it's like, obviously it's extremely, extremely important. I think what's special, at least in terms of the documentation that Albert was doing historically, is that he really was getting close to people and able to capture something that was just essentially human. And so in addition to sort of documenting, say, the political context or the sort of the bigger things, he was really seeing the smaller details in history, and the smaller details in the moments that I think speak to like really big, or speak to bigger issues. And I think that's what was so special about what he was doing. It really gives us as a viewer more of a feeling of connection to the past, to the people in the past, a connection to the moment, a feeling of being there. I mean, there's like an amazing shot he has in the movie When We Were Kings of it's Muhammad Ali is actually just making his coffee and he's just dumping sugar in repeatedly, and it's this minor detail that you wouldn't think about normally associating with Muhammad Ali, but somehow brings him to life in a different way. And I think that's really one of the important things that film can do. Beyond giving us the historical facts, it actually can allow us to, and this is something that Albert would say, it allows us to get to know each other better and get closer to each other. And if we can get to know each other better, then that enables us to have the capacity to love one another and ultimately come together as people. And that's really sort of what he stood for.
Yeah, can I just say like that insert shot where he went in on a zoom of Fidel fumbling and nervously handling the diplomas that he's literally going to hand to people. Like, that's a technique used today, but it was just shocking me that at that time he was, and it kind of humanized him in a way, right? Like, I'm nervously about giving these people who I sent to the hills to educate others. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just that shot, like the closeness of Fidel's face in the frame is something that at the time you weren't seeing at all, and you're really like right up there with him.
Yeah, and there's just one more note that was part of it, and that's when the people are chanting and you see him, he seems a little uncomfortable with that. And I don't know if you noticed that when he went to his lieutenant and he whispered, his way of not suppressing the people or telling them to stop was to have them play the national anthem. As soon as they played the national anthem, everybody stopped chanting his name and they started singing. And he was like, yeah, that's good. That's good. So there's some really nice stuff that Albert brought out that we wouldn't see. So our last question is going to come from Brother Bullwhip, and then we'll take it out. And remember, this is not the end of the conversation, because we're going to go downstairs and have a reception, and then I'll bet you all will be asking a bunch of questions down there. Yeah, no shit, something to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Emory, how you doing, comrade?
How you doing?
All right, good seeing you, brother. Happy New Year and all those good things and good health. Listen, my question is, what is one of your favorite pieces that you ever did?
I've been asked that all the time. I can say some things I had to say that I thought, when I look at it, and I kind of admire for how it came together, then I can see something else. So I think it in the context of how community responds is Afro-American solidarity with the oppressed people of the world.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
That one is, and the other one is all power to the people.
All power.
Yeah, and the one is what it is get out of Africa, get out of Asia, get out of Latin America. Yeah. Anti-imperialism. Down with anti-imperialism. Those images have had an impact with the community. Being inspired by it, being inspired with, and so in that context, I judge it and like it on there may be others that you could say aesthetically, maybe I have a fondness of, but you know, the ones that have a lot of substance and relevance to the community, how they respond, those are ones that I respond to myself as well as liking.
Thank you, Conrad.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so give a round of applause for our panelists here. And remember, this is not the end of the conversation. The reason why I cut things short here is because I got my marching orders, but you'll have a chance to speak with everybody but Emory downstairs, and then you can ask all your questions. Now, the way I would like to wrap up is if you